Sometimes I really wonder what I'm doing, sitting here, labbing Naturia combos for hours, trying to make a video that probably nobody is going to Google search at all. But here we are. So Naturia's got some new cards, one of which is this plant flower looking thing, and it's really good. And these new Vernalizer cards that are coming out too, which provide generic support for a lot of Earth decks. In my attempt to make Naturia playable, I found the Vernalizers were probably the best way to do it. So I have some 2 and 3 card combos here to show you today. This is going to be the Hills and Blooms plus the Camellia. And pretty much every combo is going to start this way because this is just the best. You'll see what I mean. So we're going to use the Hills and Blooms. Now what this does, we discard an Earth, we summon an Earth from our grave, and then we search for another Vernalizer monster. So we're going to summon back the Camellia that we discard, and we're going to add the Seedlings and Haze. I'm just going to call him Duckman. So we summon out the Camellia, and the Camellia, when it's summoned, we send the Naturia Sacred Tree from the deck to the grave. Now Sacred Tree, if it's sent to the graveyard, add 1 Naturia card from your deck to your hand. And that is not once per turn. So if you can send a bunch of these with cards like Camellia and Foolish Goods, you can add a whole bunch of Naturias. Next we're going to use the Seedling and the MoleCricket that we just added. What this will do is the duck, will search for a Earth Fairy and then summon back a Earth from grave. So we summon back the MoleCricket. MoleCricket, normally it would tribute itself to summon a Naturia from deck, but thanks to the Camellia, if you would tribute a Naturia to use an effect, you can mill the top 2 of your deck instead. So that's what we do here. It basically lets us keep our MoleCricket on field and just kind of start swarming. So now we can normal summon the Great Sage, because we haven't normaled yet. And what he does is when he's normaled, we can set a continuous trap from our hand or grave, and we can activate it this turn. So you'll see here we activate the Sacred Tree. We can make a Nat Beast with our Camellia and MoleCricket. This will trigger the MoleCricket. Since we summoned a Naturia from the extra, we can summon back the MoleCricket. And then we can use the Sacred Tree to tag out the MoleCricket for a Earth Plant. So we summon out the Cosmo Beat. We can go for a Barkion. Technically this can be pretty much any level 6 synchro. But since we're using the Vernalizers, we are locked into only activating Earth monsters. So while it would be nice to make a Charge Warrior right here to just draw an extra card, we can't. So we're just going to keep it simple and make the Barkion, and then we can use these 2 to go into the Baron. So this ends off of the 2-card combo, the Nat Beast, which, when a spell is activated, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard, negate the activation, destroy it. And this is not once per turn, so you can negate as many spells as you want with this guy. And then we have the Baron, which you probably know what this card does. It's an Omni Negate. It pops things once per turn. It's very nice. And then you would have 3 other cards in your hand. You could probably go for some other stuff. But that's basically, that combo line is going to be present in pretty much every combo in this video. Alright, here we are starting yet again with the Hills and the Camellia, but this time we're going to add the new Naturia Spring Breeze, which is basically a monster reborn. It just summons a Naturia from your hand or grave, or you could fusion or synchro on your opponent's turn, but I don't know why you would ever want to do that. So we're just going to use it as a monster reborn. And it is searchable off of the Naturia Sacred Tree. So this is going to start pretty much the exact same way as last time, using the Hills, summoning, searching the duck, milling the tree. The tree will add the cricket. Use the duck, add the sage, summon the cricket. Cricket will summon another camellia. Make the Nat Beast trigger the cricket. Summon the sage. Sage will set the great sacred tree. Tag out for the Cosmo Beat. And then make the Barkion and the Baron. And then we can use the Reborn to bring back the Barkion. It negates traps by banishing 2 cards from your grave. It's not as useful as Nat Beast, but it can negate things. It can negate board breakers, trap board breakers like Imperm and Evenly Matched. So if Evenly Matched ever becomes popular again, or if you know your opponent's got Imperms, you can use Barkion to protect your Beast and your Baron from being negated. So we pretty much have infinite spell negates, infinite trap negates, and an Omni negate. The biggest weakness with this deck, as you'll see, is the lack of monster negates. So you'll probably be okay against a deck like Despia, where all of their power cards are spells. But if you're playing against a deck that's like Dragon Link or Punk Therian, you're going to have a really rough time trying to stop all these monster effects. Here is yet another one. We're starting with the Hills and Camellia, but this time the third card we have is the Foolish Goods, which basically just mills the Sacred Tree, and the Sacred Tree adds a Naturia card, basically. So the Camellia, we're doing all of the exact same stuff that you've seen already, except this time we're going to add the Fairy of Flowers and Fields instead of the Great Sage. Now what this one does, discard this card and another Vernalizer Fairy, add a Earth from your deck to your grave to your hand, then special summon an Earth. So this is kind of a weird one. Instead of going for the Sage into setting the tree, we're going to summon the Rose Whip off of the MoleCricket here. We're going to mill this Sacred Tree to add the Bamboo Shoot, because there's 2 normal summons in this deck that you want. There's 2 cards you want to normal summon. One is the Great Sage, because he only activates on normal summon. And 2 is the Bamboo Shoot, because he has to be tribute summoned to get the effect. So what we can do here is go for the Nat Beast. Summon back the MoleCricket because we summoned a Naturia from the extra deck. And we can use these 2 to go into Crystal Wing because Nat Beast is a non-tuner synchro. And then we can... I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, we're going to summon back the Camellia and then tribute the Camellia for the Bamboo Shoot. So Crystal Wing is a monster negate and destroy, and he can be really hard for certain decks to out. And then Bamboo Shoot, if he's tribute summoned by tributing a Naturia, which he was, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards. So we have like an IO plus Royal Decree with 2000 attack, and we have a Crystal Wing that can negate monster effects. But if you want even more monster negates, you can use the MoleCricket during your opponent's turn to tag out into an Antjaw. And the Antjaw, when your opponent special summons a monster, you can summon a level 3 or lower Naturia monster from your deck. Okay, now some of the Naturias that you can summon from your deck during your opponent's turn off of the Antjaw. So he can summon level 3 or lowers, so that would be the Sunflower, which if your opponent activates a monster effect, you contribute a Naturia to negate the activation and destroy it. So this will provide you another monster negate, because you can just tribute the Antjaw that you used to summon the Sunflower. Or if your Bamboo Shoot somehow gets destroyed, you can tag out for a Rose Whip, making it so that your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap per turn. So it's kind of like a mini Bamboo Shoot. Or instead of tagging out into the ant jaw, you can tag out for a Horneedle. However, Horneedle also requires that you tribute another Naturia, and the only other one you would have off of that combo is just the bamboo shoot. So you can only really summon the Horneedle if you have extra Naturias just on the field for some reason. Otherwise, you can go for the ant jaw into Sunflower to give you that extra monster negate. So you have the bamboo shoot, crystal wing, and like the Sunflower to negate another monster. Alright, now we have another combo, which is the Hills, Camellia, and the Breeze. But this time we're going to try to swarm the field a bit more so that we can make the Horneedle, which can negate the special summon of monsters. So it's just all the same stuff again, right? Going through the motions, use the duck, summon the cricket. Except this time we're going to make this card, Naturia Ladybug, off of the MoleCricket. And what he does is, when you synchro summon a Naturia Synchro, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, which is not once per turn, by the way. So if you can spam Naturia Synchros, I guess you can just loop this card infinitely, which would be nice if he was a tuner, but he's not, so that sucks. But we're going to make a Nat Beast. We're going to summon back the Ladybug. Normal summon the Sage. Sage set the Sacred Tree. And now we can tag out this Ladybug for a plant. So we're going to get the Cosmo Beat because it's a tuner. Go into the Barkion. And then we can use Ladybug yet again. So this is the second time we've used Ladybug. Then we can use the Breeze, bring back the Camellia, make the Baron. So now we have the Beast Baron, the standard. But now we also have the MoleCricket and the Ladybugs. So we have extra material on board. Then on our opponent's turn, we can use the MoleCricket to tag out into the Horneedle. Now Horneedle, when your opponent special summons a monster, tribute a face-up Naturia to destroy that special summoned monster. Now this is a win, not an if. This is only good for inherent summons. Things like synchro summons, Xyz summons, special summons that do not start a chain, is what I'm saying. Or that are not part of a chain. So it's very situational. But things like Hawk, like you can just destroy Hawk. You can destroy things like Chaos Ruler for the Punk Engine, like Zombie Vampire. So there is use cases for the Horneedle. If you don't need the Horneedle, you can always just use the tree to tag out for something like a Rose Whip. Because we don't have Bamboo Shoot on the board. So if your opponent somehow, like, let's say your opponent Dark Rulers, so your Nat Beast is gone, but you can still tag out for like a Rose Whip. And since your opponent already activated one spell or trap this turn, which was the Dark Ruler, the Rose Whip now locks them out of their spells and traps. So there is some kind of protection you can have with a board like this. Here's another combo that shows off Rose Girl. Now Rose Girl was a card that I was testing in this deck because it has really great synergy with the Vernalizers and the Naturias. So this is going to be another Crystal Wing Bamboo Shoot MoleCricket board. Now notably, this combo will not use the Great Sage. And we know for a fact that Great Sage won't be coming out until like December for us in the TCG. So unfortunately we might have to play this deck way differently until December comes around. So you can see we just go through all the motions, right? It's just most of the same stuff you've seen before, and you've seen this in board before as well. Right, Bamboo Shoot plus Crystal Wing plus MoleCricket, and then of course you just tag out the MoleCricket for Ant Jaw, Antjaw summons Sunflower, things like that. It's all pretty standard stuff that you've seen already. Only problem I see with this deck so far is that it's just wildly inconsistent, and you kind of need to open the Hills and the Camellia to make anything reasonable work. But luckily we do have cards like Foolish Goods that we can play at 3 copies, to mill Tree, to add Camellia, so it's just more copies of Camellia. There's also Small World, which also seems very strong in this deck because the entire deck is Earth, but the types and the levels of the monsters, they all vary between like plant, insect, and fairy. So as long as you can go from like an Earth fairy into an Earth insect into an Earth plant, right? Or just any combination of those 3. So playing a card like Small World seems very strong in a deck like this. But really that's all I got. You can see things that I was trying to test, like certain monsters that don't need to activate on the field. Because with the Vernalizers you can't activate monster effects except Earth monsters. So things like Shin, like it doesn't activate, it's a continuous effect that banishes. I was also testing Dragon Drive because this card is also a Earth, but like I really couldn't find a way to make this card work. Maybe somebody at home watching this can. And there's also Desert Locust, which is an Earth that just rips a card out of your opponent's hand. This maybe could come up, but in my testing it was very hard because you want to go into Barkion into Fleur with the Camellia, and Desert Locust is a tuner, so you would need a tuner. You would need a level 4 non-tuner with the Locust to make like a Baron. So it's a little strange, is all I'm saying.